Greetings YouTube, this is Sixus, and today I'm going to be doing a deck profile of my Monarch deck, due to the fact that Stormforth has now been released from the ban list. So first off, we have Ethel, the Heavenly Monarch. First off, all the level 8 Monarchs have the effect that you can tribute summon them using only one tribute summon monster. Now, with this one's effect, when it's tribute summoned, you can send 2 Monarch Spell Trap cards from your deck to the graveyard, then specimen a Monarch from your deck. We're going to get to your main target for that later. Though that card is returned to your hand at the end phase. Additionally, during your opponent's turn, you can... is it banish? Yeah, banish a Monarch Spell Trap card from your graveyard to tribute summon this during your opponent's turn. Then we've got 3 copies of Erebus, the Underworld Monarch. What this one does is that on Tribute Summon, you can send 2 Monarch Spell Trap cards from your deck to the grave, then shuffle 1 card from your opponent's field, grave, or randomly from their hand back into the deck. So it's non-targeting spinning removal. Also, while this card's in the graveyard, you can discard a Monarch Spell Trap card to return a Monarch monster back to your hand. Next up, we've got 2 copies of Caius the Mega Monarch. When this card is tribute summoned, you can banish 1 card on the field, and if the banished card was a dark monster, you can banish all cards from your opponent's field, graveyard, main deck, and X deck. Doesn't include the hand. Oh, yeah, hand instead of field. Yeah. From your opponent's hand, main deck, X deck, and graveyard that have the same name as the banished target. Also, you inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent's life points, and if this card was summoned using a dark monster as a tribute, you can target 2 cards instead of just 1. Our final Mega Monarch is Thestios, the Mega Monarch. This one's effect is that on Tribute Summon, you can look at your opponent's hand, discard 1 card from your opponent's hand, and if the discarded card was a monster, inflict 200 damage to your opponent's life points times the monster's level. We don't want fire monsters other than this one, so the other effect is not useful. Next up, we got Agmal, the Fiendish Monarch. With this one, when it's tribute summon, you can pass a spell card from your graveyard, add a card with the same name from your deck to your hand. We have 3 copies of Tenacity, 3 copies of Domain, and now 3 copies of Stormforth. So it's very good at getting another copy of a card you already used. Also, the banishing is pretty good given that Edia can bring it back. Next up, we got Majesty's Fiend. This card cannot be special summoned, and monster effects cannot be activated while this card's on the field. Pretty good control. Speaking of control, we have Majesty's counterpart, which is Vanity's Fiend. This card cannot be special summoned, similar to Majesty's, and while it's on the field, neither player can special summon. Very strong lockdown. And here is the special summon target for Ethel. As this one, unlike the other Monarchs, actually has an effect when it's special summoned as opposed to when it's tribute summoned. When you normal or special summon Curaz, you can target up to 2 cards on the field, destroy those. Then, both players draw cards equal to the amount of cards that they control that was destroyed by this effect. So if you destroy 2 of your opponent's cards, they get to draw 2 cards. Destroy 1 card from each player's side of the field, both players draw 1 card. So there's a very interesting dynamic with this card, which I think makes it very balanced, because you might be getting rid of a card, but that card's going to automatically replace themselves when it comes to card advantage. So the question is, do you want to what do you need more? Destruction of a card, or do you need draw power? Very interesting. Also cannot attack the turn it's summoned. On to the tribute model. We have Mithra, the Thunder Vassal. Very simple. You can express one from your hand, give your opponent a token, and when this card is tributed for a tribute summon, you get an additional tribute summon that turn. Speaking of additional tribute summons, we got 3 copies of Eidos. Eidos has the effect that when it's normal or special summoned, you can get an additional tribute summon that turn, in addition to your regular normal summon set. Also, while it's in the graveyard, you can target another Scryle or Mithra, the Vassal, in your graveyard to special summon that back to the field. Our final monster is 3 copies of Idia. Idia has the effect that when this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon 1 Scryle or Vassal from your deck to your hand. Most likely Eidos, so that you get an additional tribute summon and 2 tribute cards on the field. The other effect is that if this card is sent to the graveyard, any means, and it's as if, so it's not going to miss timing, you get to recover you get to target a banished Monarch spell trap card, return that card to your hand. Works really well with Ogmile, as well as the floating effects of some of the spell and traps. First off, we got Fast Blast of the Monarchs. This one has the effect that if you control a Monarch, monster tree 400 attack and 1000 defense, you can destroy 1 set card on the field. Additionally, if this card is in the graveyard, you can banish this and 1 other Monarch spell trap card to do that same effect again. It's basically the back row removal of this deck, and it also counts as a Monarch spell trap, so you can send it to the graveyard with the effects of Ether and Erebus. Then your main search card, which is Tenacity of the Monarchs. You can reveal a Monarch in your hand, add a Monarch spell trap card from your deck to your hand. Very simple. Hard ones per turn as well. Then we have Pantheism of the Monarchs. Still at 1. Same goes for Ether. Both of them still at 1. With this one, you can send a Monarch spell trap card from your hand to the grave, draw 2 cards. And while this card's in the graveyard, you can banish it, reveal 3 Monarch spell trap cards in your deck. They don't even have different names. They can all have the same name. You can choose 3 Tenacity, and your opponent won't really have a choice, because you get to choose those 3, and then your opponent chooses one of those 3, adds that card to your hand. Then we have the continuous spell, March of the Monarchs. While this card's on the field, tribute summon monsters you control, cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. Very good protection. Then for consistency, we have 2 copies of Return of the Monarchs. While this card's on the field, when you tribute summon a monster, you can search a Monarch from your deck to your hand. So monster 2400 or 2800 attack and 1000 defense. Then we got 3 copies of Stormforth. This is very interesting to see. Because this has been limited for a while now. But yeah, with Stormforth, you can tribute using your opponent's monsters. And unlike Soul Exchange, this card does not take away your battle phase, nor does it target. So it's non-targeting tribute removal. So basically it turns your Monarchs into Kaijus. While also letting you use the effects, and like I said, there's 3, so you can search it with Tenacity, or you can banish it from the graveyard or with Ogmile to search another copy. Then we got, from Flames of Destruction, Restoration of the Monarchs. This equip spell, I almost said continuous, has the effect that you can special summon a Monarch from your graveyard, and while its effects are negated, you can have it count as 2 tributes for tribute summon. Makes it a lot easier to bring out the bigger Monarchs. Speaking of that, we got 3 copies of Domain of the True Monarchs. the center point of the Monarch control. You see, why this is a card on the field and you have no cards in your extra deck, and you control a tribute zone monster, your opponent cannot special zone from the extra deck. Now that is a lot of lockdown. And there's still 2 more effects. When a Monarch attacks, it gains 800 attack. So your level 6 monsters will become 3200 attack while battling, and your Mega Monarchs will become 3600 attack. A lot of power output with that. And then we have the final effect, which is you can have a level 8 Monarch in your hand. You can have its level be reduced by 2, making them a lot easier to summon. Then onto the trap card, there's only 3. We have 1 copy of the Monarchs Erupt. This is basically the same thing as Majesty's Fiend, as the fact that while it's on the field and you control a tribute zone monster and you have no cards in your extra deck, you can negate the effects of all monsters on the field. Finally, we got 2 copies of the Pine Monarch. This is a continuous trap that lets you, once put on, add 2 Monarch spell trap cards from your graveyard back into the deck to draw 1 card, and if this card itself is in the graveyard, you can special summon it to the field, and you do this by banishing a Monarch spell trap card, and that's another way to get tribute fodder on the field. So yeah, it's all about getting tribute fodder and tributing something really big and strong monsters, while also having spell and trap cards to help protect them. But yeah, that's the exact profile. Tell me what you think in the comments. That's all for this time.